Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Living on Blockchain. Today, we are speaking to Pavel. Pavel is the co-founder of Wirex. Wirex is one of the oldest services providing a card instrument against your crypto holdings, and so that you can basically spend it on a day-to-day basis. They're coming up with a very exciting non-custodial card in the first quarter of 24. So we spoke a little about that, a little about how maneuvering these crypto waters, offering services that are traditional in sense, can be a bit of an uphill battle, and how Wirex is successfully managing to break those barriers and offer their services consistently over the years. So this was a very, very interesting conversation, especially from somebody who's as seasoned as he is. So I can't wait for you guys to hear this. Let's deep dive right in. Hi, Pavel. Thank you so much for making the time to speak to me today. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing great, and thank you for having me today.
It's my absolute honor to have you here on the show. Can you tell us a little about yourself and how you got into Web3?
Yes, well, my name is Pavel Matveev. I'm co-founder, co-CEO of Wirex, and I started my journey in crypto, I think in 2014, so a long time ago. And it's actually the time when we founded Wirex, and the idea was that we were trying to combine cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency wallets with something people familiar with, like a debit card, or something physical as well, something you can put in your pocket. And it's how we came up of idea of first Bitcoin debit card. So in 2014, it was only one cryptocurrency, it was Bitcoin. And this is actually how we started our journey with my co-founder. But prior to that, I spent around 12 years working in trading, on trading desk in different investment banks. I worked in Morgan Stanley, Barclays Capital, Credit Suisse, and two French banks as well, Societe Generale and BNP Paribas. So yeah, and the main reason for me to enter this exciting crypto world was that I was really excited, still excited about cryptocurrency, blockchain, and back in the days it was very niche market, very geeky, but very exciting and very interesting. And it's great to see how the market and industry evolves.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people who were working earlier in the finance space, they kind of, when they come across decentralized technology and they come across maybe the Bitcoin white paper, there's pretty much no looking back for them. They want to get more involved because they see perhaps an improved way of doing things.
Absolutely. I think it's, well, I had a couple of reasons why I joined this crypto revolution. So one, technology itself. I think we have, with blockchain and cryptocurrency, we have lifetime opportunity, to be honest, to influence, to develop finance in decentralized way. And this haven't done before us. So the technology itself was very fascinating. And I think the second point for me personally was that I kind of reached I think the milestone in my professional finance trading career, and I was looking for a new venture. And I think it was just coincidence that I started reading more about blockchain, Bitcoin, and then I thought, okay, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this has been like a journey for a lot of founders that I've spoken to actually very recently. Given your background in software development and IT management for major banks, what were the kind of key challenges that you saw in the traditional financial system that made you believe in a solution like Wirex, and why you thought it was perhaps necessary?
I think there are a lot of, so finance is very broad term, and I think there
Right.
are a lot of areas you can change, optimize, make it more decentralized. With Wirex particularly, we were looking into it's like everyday use, how actually customers can control their own money. Because before blockchain, uh, you 100% depend on your bank or your financial provider, and something happens with a bank. Well, that's unfortunate, but there is nothing you can do. And I think we were looking at this particular problem, ownership of your assets. But we also wanted to make it practical because, yeah, you can create your wallet, you can put Bitcoin there, it's your keys, it's your money, fine. But if you can't really use Bitcoin in everyday life, then there is no really practical angle to that. So that's why we were thinking about this problem. Okay, how you can keep this ownership of your assets and all the freedom of money movement. You can send it to everyone, everywhere in the world with no time and with little would fee. But how can we add this practicality of using your digital assets in everyday life? And it's how we basically came up with the idea of merging Bitcoin wallet and debit card. Basically, with Bitcoin wallet, you have this freedom and all the benefits of blockchain technology, but
Right.
card itself allow you to spend with digital assets in 50 million merchants in more than 200 countries.
Absolutely. I think that is like a pretty much a no-brainer of a solution that you want people to be able to use it in their day-to-day life, and that is the only way that we can get to, greater adoption. But considering, and a lot of other providers have tried creating a solution pretty much like Wirex, though you guys were one of the one of the oldest providers, perhaps. How did you really manage to circumvent or get around the compliance aspect in different jurisdictions?
Well, that's a very good question. So you're right in saying that Wirex is quite an old company. So Wirex was
Oh.
actually the world first company who came up with this product, Bitcoin debit card.
Hmm.
And so Wirex product and wirexapp available right now in multiple regions. So it's UK, Europe, Asia Pacific, and United States. It's fair to say that compliance requirements, while there are similarities across different
Hmm.
regions when it comes to KYC, PEPs and sanction screening and other things, but different countries have their own requirements, or different regulators have, some, different requirements. FCA has its own requirement, very similar to MIS in Singapore, but there are small things which are different. And there is no really kind of a way around it, to be honest.
Right.
And I think we put compliance and working closely with regulators part of our business strategy. So we are licensed, regulated in multiple countries. There's no
Hmm.
really way around it. So the only way is to meet this expectation and have a dialogue with regulators. And it's very time consuming, to be honest. So
Yeah.
we've been doing this business for almost 9 years, but it's very time consuming, resource consuming, and it's not something you can just get, in 1 month. You need to work towards that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I understand this. And that is why I asked you, because I have been on the other side. I have, in one of my earlier ventures, we were trying to basically tokenize real world assets like gold and silver. And that was very challenging because every jurisdiction that you want to perhaps put the service in or, let users avail your services, when you're dealing with banking entities and, you're dealing with custodians and insurers, and then you add this extra layer of obviously Web3, which they're already kind of a little wary of. It becomes a very tedious process. It's very resource consuming as well, not just in terms of money but also in terms of time. So yeah, that is why it is not everybody who can perhaps do and offer a solution like this. And I think that is perhaps your biggest moat, that you guys have the right experience and you've been around for a very long time, and you've been able to successfully sustain your business.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And there is kind of, two sides to being the first. Obviously, if work in on some of the products like we are on Bitcoin debit card, or you were working with tokenized assets, it's always good to be first. But with this kind of
Hmm.
being the first comes with the challenges. You've got this,
Yeah.
first mover advantage, which is great, but first mover advantage doesn't last long. But you actually need to find a way especially when it comes to working with kind of unregulated area and regulated area. So you actually need to be the first company, the first person who come up with solution. So that's kind of very challenging and resource intensive. And I think it's also fair to say that for people on companies who started working on tokenization, for example, 3-4 years ago, I think it was a bit too early.
Yeah.
Because regulators were not ready, the infrastructure were not ready, and it's challenging, right? When you have a great idea, tokenizing assets, but you can't really implement it.
Yeah.
But I think now in the industry we're reaching the point where we have infrastructure. And it's never-ending path for infrastructure. It will improve over time and getting more mature with more services. But what we have right now is a huge leap compared to what we had 3-4 years ago. What we have right now in the Web3, in tokenization space, in tokenization of real-world asset space, it's good. It's working. But we also have this a bit of clarity when it comes to regulation.
Yeah.
FCA, MiCA in Europe, MIS, Japan, other countries, they now understand, okay, this is actually asset class we can't ignore. So that's why we see more regulation and more clarity. I know it's quite common in crypto industry to complain about lack of regulatory clarity, but that's actually not the case. I think we now see more clarity and more rules for assets, digital assets, money movements, and tokenized assets.
Absolutely. I think, when we were trying to do it, it was a little early and there was no infrastructure, like you rightly said. But I'm glad that, the policymakers are catching up and they usually catch up to technology a little later, but it's all good. I think we're on the right path. So just for our listeners, can you tell us which jurisdictions are, your services available in, and how can they sort of sign up and be a part of this revolution that you guys are paving way for?
So our main app, wirexapp and card, is available in UK, Europe, and 6 countries in Asia Pacific. So it's
Okay.
Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, New Zealand, Philippines, Vietnam. It's also available in United States. The app itself, the app and ability to buy and sell crypto available in many more countries. But the card's actually limited UK, Europe, Asia Pacific, and United States right now.
Okay. All right. Awesome. And what is like the next big milestone that you guys are looking at for Wirex?
Well, that's a very good question. And let me maybe explain it based on what we've seen so far in the industry. So industry moves in cycles. There is every 3-4 years, there is a cycle. And cycle, basically,
Yeah.
there are 2 parts to it. There is a hype, right? It's a
Yeah.
bubble-like situation, and this bubble pops, and then there is a second leg of a hype, or
Mm.
people call it the bear market or crypto winter.
Yeah.
Um, what we see right now is actually the beginning of the next cycle. So we understand that, so it's why we built our business strategy based on the fact that there will be a new cycle. This is the most exciting. This is the most exciting time in the industry to be in the crypto industry during the next bull market. So the bull market itself is a great opportunity for us, and we're planning to maximize this opportunity for Wirex. We are obviously developing our flagship product. It's a wirexapp and award-winning card product, but we also are planning to launch a payment-focused app chain. We call it WPay, but this app chain basically will have non-custodial debit cards built into that, and other protocols or DAOs or smart contracts will be able natively integrate with this app chain. So this is quite a big milestone in innovation we're planning to launch in Q1 next year.
Wow, that does sound big. So now I have two follow-up questions. What exactly do you mean by non-custodial debit cards? And the app chain that you're referring to, is this gonna be like a roll-up?
Yes. So our app chain is based on Polygon CDK stack.
Right.
So
Okay.
it basically it's a zero knowledge stack, very fast finality time, and in my opinion also ZK stack. It's superior compared to Optimism stack. So ZK and
Hmm.
Optimism probably two main options for app chains or for scaling Ethereum right now. But for our use case, for financial fintech use case, ZK just work better. And I think what Polygon built with CDK is just perfect, and it's perfectly suitable for what we're building. So this payment app chain. So the idea of payment app chain is that every customer will have, let's say, a wallet, a balance. That's basically implementation of account abstraction. But every customer has the wallet they will be able to control, and we will plug in our card infrastructure to this app chain. And the way it will work, that customers will be able to authorize Wirex to debit their account. So basically, every time you use your card, we will be able, based on your authorization, to debit your account in order to authorize card transaction. But at any point of time, you as a customer, you have full ownership of your wallets, of your money. So the main kind of a selling point or main advantages compared to classic debit cards or crypto debit cards is that in this app chain, you control the funds all the time. You don't have any counterparty risk, and something happens with Wirex, you control the funds, and you can always take them out, or you can always remove this authorization. So, in our opinion, that's kind of the next wave of this crypto payment infrastructure, and I think
That
this,
sounds
in my
wonderful.
personal opinion, is something which will contribute to the next bull run. Yeah.
Absolutely. That sounds beautiful. That sounds like the next big thing, and more power to you guys to be, able to launch this. And I would absolutely love to try it out once it does go live, as you mentioned, in Q1 next year. So, as a thought leader, you kind of already touched upon this, but I would like to perhaps ask you again, as a thought leader, you're at the intersection of finance and tech. What kind of emerging trends, apart from the ones that you've already talked about, are exciting for you? And, how are you perhaps positioning Virex to leverage those trends as well, especially in fintech?
Yeah, so there are multiple trends. There are a big trend for scaling Ethereum, and I think this, app chains or chains using Optimism stack or ZK stack. I think it's one of the more technical trend, but one of kind of a main trends from our perspective is that a lot of businesses, and I'll expand on this in a second, but a lot of businesses moving on chain one way or another. So we see more traditional businesses, let's call them Web2 businesses, moving on chain. Companies like Nubank, which is the largest neobank in Brazil or Latin America now, they launched the loyalty program based on Polygon. Companies like Grab in Southeast Asia, they integrated the non-custodial wallet for NFTs, for like a ticketing system. But we also see that centralized platforms are moving on chain. Obviously, Coinbase probably the largest example when they launch their own chain. We have Kraken, who is considering launching their own L2 chain. We have
Hmm.
companies like DYDX, obviously Wirex
Yeah.
planning to launch upchain. So a lot of companies moving on chain one way or another. And also there is kind of a trend which is happening in parallel. So the trend is that the wallet as a service, as the area, is
Hmm.
developing very fast. Companies like Fireblock, Coinbase, Circle, Trust Wallet, they now offer the wallet as a service. And what it means, so on one side, we see that businesses and trading activities moving on chain, but on the other side, we see that it's getting so easy to create a wallet. So we will have more non-custodial wallets. And I think there's two parts they will merge together. And well, we call it, not we call it, but it's how people call it in the industry. It's basically a merging of on-chain economy. So what it means, that means a lot of what we're doing right now in centralized way will move on chain. And we see this as a great opportunity. So that's why we're also launching this non-custodial debit cards. And that's why we're focusing a lot of this on-chain activity. But I think emerge or rise of on-chain economy is one of the trends we're betting on this cycle.
That is super interesting. I think, the way you've kind of put it is even more interesting because only a few days back, I think I was talking to my founder and we were discussing about how, microtransactions are going to be like very big because because that's just how the user is going to become more involved perhaps in Web3 and there can be far more adoption. So I think we're pretty aligned with the two, what you're bullish on and what we feel is going to be really big in the coming months as well. So this kind of leads me to the sort of the next question, because you guys are doing such a wonderful job with creating this bridge between folks in Web3 and creating usability, for more adoption in crypto and in Web3. But there is still a long way to go for mass adoption to happen. I would love to know your take about uh, what needs to be overcome. Like, what do we need to overcome as an ecosystem to get, widespread acceptance and adoption in Web3?
That's a very good question. So my view is that there is no really silver bullet for mass adoption. I think
Right.
getting
Yeah,
mass
I
adoption
agree.
or on any adoption, it's a process. And
Hmm.
with every cycle, market expands, right? So if you
Hmm.
compare, ICO boom of 2017 to the DeFi summer of, 2 years ago, with every cycle, market getting bigger. And every cycle, everyone's talking, okay, are we hitting mass adoption? Will we hit mass adoption this time? There's no silver bullet for mass adoption. It's a process. And I think, over time we will get, mass adoption. But I think the exciting part about crypto, with every cycle, markets expands, I don't know,